Good morning. Over the last 3 months, I have had the opportunity to work at Newton's public access news station called NewTV. Music has always been a very important part of my life. I've played guitar since 2nd grade, and over the past couple of years, I've developed an extremely passionate interest in audio engineering and music production. And that's what I'm planning to major in next year at the University of Hartford. When I was initially accepted into the capstone program, I immediately began reaching out to several different music studios within the Boston area. And unfortunately, within the music industry, the hours are extremely unusual, so they weren't able to accept any high school-aged interns. So I then knew I had to start looking into other options in other industries, and that's actually when my mom mentioned NewTV to me, because she had known 2 other students of her friends that had done internships at NewTV during high school. Today I'm going to be talking to you about my internship as a whole, specifically what my work environment was like, what it was like for me to learn how to work collaboratively with others, some of the skills I learned, how I became more independent throughout this whole entire process, and how my expectations when I was coming in compared to what happened in the end. So on my very first day at NewTV, I walked into the building, and the second I walked through the door, it was nothing like the work environment I was picturing in my head. I was picturing just like the classic office building, cubicles, like several different offices, whereas the second you walk through the door at NewTV, directly in front of you, you have our control room, which is filled with several different TV monitors, audio boards, and various other forms of production equipment. And as I continued walking throughout the building, I realized the layout was also totally whacked compared to what I was imagining in my head. There were offices and just lining the hallways. We had like a kitchen, editing suites for members to go edit their videos, a training room, of course like a TV studio. And the other thing that I was expecting was to walk in and have people dressed like this, which was not true. Every single employee I saw was in jeans, shorts, and a t-shirt. Other than having to get used to working in an actual work environment for the very first time for me, I had to learn how to work collaboratively with those around me, which was extremely important within this industry to make sure everything came out how we wanted. While at NewTV, I worked with 3 other people. My boss, Michael, one of the things I liked about Mike was that he wasn't afraid to be honest with me or with anyone else in the NewTV community and give us as much criticism as he possibly could, whether it was helpful, seemed extremely harsh, and but at the same time he was extremely understanding when it came to anyone making a mistake. I also worked with 2 other interns, Jacob and Aiden, who were both students at Northeastern, and what I really loved about them was they were able to add a sense of humor to the workplace, while at the same time being serious when needed. For example, they would be cracking jokes all the time, or while we were editing video, they would fool around and change the appearance of people or objects, change colors, and just make everything look as ridiculous as they possibly could. And as as I mentioned earlier, the honesty from my boss was actually a very big challenge of mine at first, because it was extremely hard for me to get used to having to first accept how brutally honest he was being at times, as well as be brutally honest with those around me as well, which is extremely important in this industry, because if you make a single mistake, it can just have a domino effect and just completely destroy everything. So prior to my work at NewTV, the only experience I had with video was using just one of your personal just like video cameras that you would see in just a normal household. And as I'm sure everyone in this room probably knows, everything on those is done automatically. There's really not much to them. And so when I started working at NewTV, all the cameras there, as you can tell from the pictures, they look nothing like what you would see in just anyone's home. They're all professional studio grade cameras, and throughout my first couple of weeks, there was a lot I needed to learn. One of the most interesting things I learned when it came to dealing with video is that actually you don't want to even touch a camera before you set up every other aspect of whatever you're filming, because with lighting on these specific cameras, you're able to adjust for anything that might be off. So everything that you would need to adjust appearance-wise can be done from the cameras. And as I mentioned earlier as well, about personal cameras, they're all autofocus, and every single camera at NewTV did not have autofocus, which at first was extremely annoying to me, and it took me forever to really figure out how to do. But as I became a lot more comfortable doing it, I began to realize that it actually was extremely helpful, and it allowed me to create a lot more unique shots when filming. On the other hand, when it came to post-production or editing, I came in completely blind. I had never touched an editing software or edited a single piece of video in my whole entire life. And at NewTV, I had a great opportunity to learn Adobe Premiere, which is extremely rapidly becoming the most popular video editing software on the market. Within this software, I learned how to cut certain clips and like camera angles into smaller pieces and then piece them back together to create what appears to be a singular shot. Add titles, subtitles, any form of text, add video effects to change colors of people, you could add like raindrops to appear as if it was raining even if it wasn't. And one of the most interesting things I learned is green screening. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with the concept of green screening, but basically what it allows you to do is film a person in front of a screen that is green, and then in post-production, edit that screen out and put either an image or any form of video behind it. And this is what your end effect will be. Why is it not working? This is not working. There we go. Ooh. Ow. What is going on here? Sorry. So basically, as you can see, is I was able to put I can put any video in behind this guy, from going from the green background to a video, as well as you can put images if you would like. As I mentioned earlier, my main focus within this internship was the audio. I had some previous experience dealing with audio from doing my own recording of music at my home, but all of this was done on my laptop through a computer program called Logic, whereas at NewTV, they had a soundboard. It was all analog, and it took a very long time for me to really get used to it, because there was a lot more adjustments that you had to take into consideration. And as I became more comfortable with using the actual soundboard, Mike began letting me work with the audio during shoots for other members or wherever we might be. And my very first shoot, I noticed what I had to do regarding audio, and the audio itself wasn't even close to as complex or involved as I would have hoped. Because of the type of productions we do, there aren't many aspects where audio has to come into play. So I would basically just sit down at the beginning, put up the levels for 3 different people, and I could sit there for the next half hour to an hour and not do a thing. When I first started working at NewTV, the amount of independence I was given was extremely minimal. It kind of felt like my boss was always looking over my shoulder. Like, there wouldn't be a single time where I could just be alone and just do my own thing. But as time moved on, a month passes by, everything changed. I had learned how to use all the different types of equipment, and he soon began letting me film my own shoots, set up for everything on my own, and it really gave me, it allowed me to become a lot more independent and really learn what it took to work in this industry alone and not have the help of other people, really. And eventually got to the point where my boss was actually able to tell me and the 2 other interns to just go. He'd give us a list of equipment, and we would just go get it and go. And we actually did this picture. I'm not sure if you can tell. It's actually in our cafeteria. This was a shoot we did in early March here at Newton North. It was a Senate Q&A. And that was actually a really interesting experience because it really allowed me to, it was the very first time I was just given a task and had to do everything completely on my own. So as my internship came to an end, I began thinking back on my whole experience and how what I expected when I first came in compared to what played out in reality. As I mentioned before, the complexity of the audio, my main focus for this whole entire experience, was nothing compared to what I was hoping for. I don't want to say it was boring, because I still learned a lot of useful skills within the audio, but it just wasn't really what I was looking for. But even though I didn't get what I was hoping for and what I expected, all the other skills I took away regarding working with others, working with different clients or members, video, editing, all of those greatly outweighed this fact. And it was still an amazing experience for me, and it really made me think about my future and what I want to do. And like I said, next year I'm going to the University of Hartford and majoring in audio engineering. And so I began thinking that maybe TV production isn't where I want to go because of all the things that I learned throughout this process, and that maybe that music production is probably more along the lines of what I envision in my head because of the aspects that are there and how much you really have to take into consideration. And as I was saying earlier, even though this experience wasn't exactly what I was hoping for, it was still amazing, extremely impactful on my life and just my whole thought process about my life after high school. And I strongly suggest to any student in this room who wants an extremely unique experience their senior year and has any desire to explore a profession or industry they might be interested in, to take part in the capstone program. Thank you.